Thank you, Inga. I was going to start off by telling you why we invest in clean energy. But I have to say that my job has actually already been done for me today. We heard earlier on Paul Collier telling us that to reduce poverty, we need jobs. To create jobs, we need firms. And firms need power. We also heard from the Honourable Minister that the most important sector where foreign investment is required is the energy sector. And lastly, and perhaps most eloquently, we saw the picture from Kevin of the entrepreneur in Myanmar praying to the gods that the electricity did not break down. The power sector is capital intensive. You create fixed assets of a high monetary value that are locked in country, you cannot move them. Capital for that kind of investment is scarce, particularly in our markets. And very few of these large-scale energy projects actually happen without the role of the development finance institutions. We've been part of that. As Norfund, we've been one of the, I think, leading equity investors in the clean energy space in Africa and abroad. Just a few years ago, we were largely a hydropower investor. As we heard from Paul also, that the very first factory, just a few miles from his house, was dependent on water power. And that was where we started too, investing in hydropower. But today we've invested in around, Norfund's capital is invested in over 4,000 megawatts of clean energy power production, spread fairly evenly across different technologies. About 3/4 of it is in operation today, delivering kilowatt hours onto the grid, into users, factories, businesses and firms across the countries, and we have about 1/4 of it under construction today. Those of you who have followed the energy space will know that the solar age is upon us. The revolution continues. With every successive auction for new power capacity in the solar area, the prices drop again and again. We've been part of that, mostly through our partnership with Scatec Solar, and today we've invested in over 1,000 megawatts of solar power connected to the grid. That is something I personally did not predict a few years ago. And I think we also see that there's a convergence of technological change. I mean, not only is it the cost of solar panels going down, we have the battery revolution, the change in battery technology going ahead. We have appliances with high efficient appliances using low volumes of energy. And last but not least, the advent of mobile money, creating new business models for buying and selling electricity. And all this is changing the notion of distributed generation. In other words, power generated at the point of consumption. Today, Norfund's investment in distributed generation is relatively modest. It's about 1% of our portfolio today, but it's growing. We've invested in companies who are providing household solar systems, but where we expect to see the growth is in companies delivering power to commercial and industrial enterprises. One such company that is doing that is Yoma Micropower Limited in Myanmar. I'm not going to tell you much about that company. That's the task of the next speaker today. And that is Alakesh Chatia, who is the CEO of Yoma Micropower. He started his career in Silicon Valley. He was a serial entrepreneur, mostly in the silicon chips business. And at some point, he moved over to SunEdison and set up their business of the rural energy for rural communities business. In 2015, he left that company and saw an opportunity to create a distributed generation business in Myanmar on his own. He's worked for several years and is now in the position where we are rolling out his originally conceived business plan. But before I invite Alakesh up to the stage, we're going to see a short video clip about his company. I believe the video was made by his daughter. As my uncle used to say, nepotism begins in the home. So please, the movie.